After the comments, we will have a question and answer session. As always, please don't blurt out your question. When we finish, I will go through and call all of the media outlets one by one. We ask that you please keep it to one question. There's a lot of media on today, and we want to keep some type of order. So we appreciate your participation with that. And with that, I'll kick it to Mayor Byron Brown.
Thank you very much, Chad. I want to thank the members of the media for joining us for this Buffalo winter storm briefing for the 2022 storm. I apologize for not being able to join on video right now. Again, beginning this briefing with sad news, we have just recovered another body. That brings the total of dead that we have recovered recently to 8. The total death toll in the city of Buffalo has now risen to 28 deceased individuals in Buffalo alone. And the Buffalo Police Department has been working with the Erie County Medical Examiner on confirming those deaths that are storm related. And at this point, we have 28 storm-related deaths in the city of Buffalo. With a improvement in conditions, very little snowfall in the city of Buffalo right now, no whiteout conditions, winds subsided. We are making significant progress. We are plowing and hauling snow in the city of Buffalo throughout the city. We are into the residential neighborhoods. I will have Commissioner Nate Martin from the Department of Public Works update you on the focus on hauling today. We have, with our Buffalo Police Department and other emergency first responders, rescued all stranded motorists that were stranded in vehicles. We will be now towing vehicles that have been abandoned throughout the city of Buffalo. Buffalo Police Commissioner Gramaglia and I toured parts of the city yesterday evening, and there were a large number of vehicles that were abandoned and stuck on different streets in the city. That is presenting some difficulties for the continuing plowing operation, making sure that main streets are safe and passable, and opening up residential streets. Commissioner Gramaglia and I at Main and Best saw a situation where 2 fire trucks were traveling with lights and sirens to get to a call, and there were abandoned vehicles in that location, narrowing the ability to pass down that street. At the same time, there were individuals who were walking in the street, and those fire trucks came very dangerously close to those individuals walking. We will literally be hauling hundreds of vehicles off streets in the city of Buffalo today to open up streets, make them safely passable for pedestrians as well as motorists. Commissioner Gramaglia and I yesterday also had the ability to visit some of our emergency first responders. We were able to thank Buffalo police officers, New York State troopers, National Guard members, police officers from the city of Rochester for their work to rescue people from abandoned and stranded vehicles, for their work to recover deceased persons in the city of Buffalo. And again, I want to say a special word of thanks to all of the emergency first responders, Buffalo Police, Buffalo Fire, Erie County Sheriffs, New York State Police, our National Guard that's in the city of Buffalo. Want to also thank city plow drivers and public works workers, county plow drivers and workers, state plow drivers and workers, and many others that are doing amazing work right now. We have also been working strategically with National Grid to get National Grid to different locations in the city to restore power. They've made significant progress. We are now down to under 4,000 households that are still without power in the city of Buffalo. That is down from a high of over 20,000. But we will not rest. We will not stop working until we get that number of those without power to zero. We know how uncomfortable it is. I know personally from firsthand experience, and we know that there are some individuals in our community that have been without power for 4 days. So we are working aggressively with National Grid, supporting their needs to get power restored. Finally, before I turn things over to Public Works Commissioner Nate Martin, I want to let you know that the Buffalo Police Department has created an anti-looting detail. We have already made a number of requests, a number of arrests, and we will be focusing very aggressively on following up on the crime of looting during these blizzard conditions and during this natural disaster in the city of Buffalo. And our goal will be to find as many individuals as possible who have been engaged in this crime. We are a strong and resilient community. The majority of people in the city of Buffalo, Erie County, and Western New York heeded the guidance and did the right thing. And I want to thank the majority of members of our community that have been so helpful during these historic storm conditions. Now I will turn things over to Commissioner Nate Martin to give you a more detailed update from the Department of Public Works.
Thanks, Mayor. As the mayor indicated, we are in the clearing of the street process. So fully transitioning from where our 100% focus was on the life safety and search and rescue support with the first responders. We're still providing support to those as needed, but our real focus is on the clearing of the streets. We've got our full base of DPW equipment, private contractors engaged. We're working with municipalities, local municipalities who are funneling equipment to us when they're done with it, plows and dump trucks and loaders. But our full forces are dedicated to that. We've got 268 pieces on the ground active at this moment in time. And we continue to get sourced in, as I said, from our neighbors and friends. New York State is sourcing additional equipment in as well, and that is arriving continually throughout the response timeframe. So we have equipment, large-scale equipment in all parts of the city, and this is that removal process from similar to what we did about a month ago in the November storm, where we go in and lift scoop by scoop into a dump truck and haul it away. So, you know, the snow in some of these areas throughout the city, you might have a clear street because where the winds blew, and we will run into 3 or 4 or 5, 6 feet, even more high drifts. So it's nothing of that height that can be plowed by our typical snow clearing equipment in the city. So that's why it's a really lift and haul process at this point in time. A lot of the mains and secondaries are open and passable. Some are better than others. Some of the main thoroughfares where we have a lot of traffic and anticipate the emergency response and additional snow hauling equipment coming through, those are cleared a little bit more. We're moving into those to clear and widen some of those other support streets and secondaries. And again, we are moving into the residentials in all parts of the city. this is a long, slow process, as we experienced previously. It's not a quick call. So, a call to plow your street is not what it might be in a normal storm with this historic snowfall. So it is a lift, haul, one dump truck at a time to our sites. We've got 4 sites that we opened across the city, scattered geographically: the Central Terminal, Furman Boulevard, Dart Street, and Fillmore Avenue. So we have those strategically located to speed the haul and removal process. So that's helping us move along quickly, or more quickly anyway. So I would urge patience with everybody. One of the difficulties we have is, we've talked about this throughout the days, are the number of cars and abandoned cars that we've run into. So we're constantly going down a street and we think it's a snow drift or a snow pile, and it's actually a car buried underneath there. So you've got to stop operations, call in some plow support, and we're tag teaming that plow support with our equipment as well. So, but you've got to pause, get that out of the way, and then resume. So that is an additional element that is just complicating our removal. And then additionally, cars on roads. I know we have a driving ban in place, but we are still seeing a lot of traffic out there. So cannot urge people enough to follow that ban, stay off the roads. It's impeding our progress, our ability to move quicker and more effectively across the city. So from our standpoint, making progress into side streets, into the neighborhoods, it's slow. We're getting there. We continue to work closely with National Grid and provide them support. Their outages are continuing to drop, and we're doing everything we can to support their efforts. So moving along, but a ways to go, but we're pushing as hard as we can to get to every residential street. So, Mayor, back to you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Martin. Commissioner Martin referenced 268 pieces of equipment now on the streets in the city of Buffalo that are plowing and focusing on lifting and hauling snow out of neighborhoods. That is city plows, private contractors that the city has retained, county plows, county private contractors, state plows, as well as National Guard support. I also want to thank Supervisor Culpa from the town of Amherst, who has sent some equipment, Mayor Malik Evans from Rochester that has sent some equipment, and Mayor Ben Walsh from Syracuse that has sent some equipment. There has been a call out statewide for mutual aid. Again, I want to stress that Buffalo has been ground zero for this storm. The impacts of this winter storm were the most harsh in Buffalo and all of Erie County and all of Western New York. So these are not normal snowfall conditions. This is a historic storm. Now I will turn to Buffalo Police Commissioner Joe Gramaglia to give you an update on the work that our Buffalo Police Department has been doing and continues to do.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor just announced, the tragic recovery of yet another body, which brings us up to 28 storm deaths, storm-related deaths. There have also been about a dozen other deceased persons that have had to have been removed by our strike team, our police department, who are also being assisted by state police, New York State Fire, New York State Parks. The list goes on and on. We have numerous teams that are out on search and recovery efforts. So in those typical circumstances, natural deaths, funeral directors would come and remove the deceased from wherever they are. But we have been tasked with having to do that because the driving ban and the conditions and the funeral directors are not able to do that. So this is painstaking, grueling work. And I could not be more proud of the members of this department for digging in and doing what needs to be done. They're doing the work. Nobody is complaining at all. I get people are asking to come in and to do, volunteer to do whatever it is that needs to be done. So the other unfortunate reality is that as the snow begins to get moved, and as we see in the week when the snow starts to melt, we fully expect that we are going to recover more bodies. We're pretty certain that there's going to be more deaths uncovered that we just cannot see at this point. We have been dealing with trying to catch up with our calls since Friday morning. I believe we've been sitting on roughly about 1,000 calls. We know there's a lot of duplicates, a lot of stranded motorists, a lot of calls that we have been working through to get cleared up. We are dealing with those. You'll see on abandoned vehicles that may have yellow crime scene tape attached to the side view mirror. That's because those vehicles have been checked to make sure that they're empty. They've been checked by our police officers, by our details, our volunteer snowmobile operators that had been in the city. We're very grateful for their assistance. So we've been going through those processes, and as you've heard already, that the towing process will begin today to get these cars out of there. As for the looting, I think the mayor appropriately addressed that yesterday. It is still going on. We have an anti-looting detail that has been launched. We are moving forward on that anti-looting detail. We have already made 4 arrests just in the last approximately hour. We know we are going to make more. We have plainclothes detectives. We are utilizing all the resources that we have. This isn't people stealing food and medicine and diapers. They are destroying stores. They're stealing televisions, couches, whatever else they can get their hands on. They're opportunists. They're taking advantage. And all you're doing is destroying the resource you have when you need to go to the store again and buy food or whatever else that you need. You're destroying your community. It will not be tolerated. We have a lot of social media, both videos, still pictures. We know that people are going to send us more. It has been put out as a priority to each of our district detectives. We will investigate this. If we cannot identify you on our own, we will put your face on TV and other people will identify you. We will make arrests. I've already been in contact with the district attorney, John Flynn, this morning. He is well aware of what's going on, and we are going to jointly prosecute this. It will not be tolerated. As far as, sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties here. As far as the cars on the street, as you've heard again, this is a significant problem. You're impeding what we need to do. Stop driving on the street. We are seeing cars, people driving everywhere. We know stores are opening. That does not mean that you can get in your car and go drive to one of the grocery stores. If you're in close proximity, you're just going to have to walk. We have a lot of heavy equipment that's out there. DPW is putting a lot of heavy equipment. We have rescue equipment that is the National Guard that has big heavy equipment, and all you're doing is getting in the way. You are the problem. You are causing the problem. And the more people want this city open sooner, stay off the streets so that we can do the work that we need to do to get your city open again, to get you to the store, to get you back doing what it is that you want to do. So as far as the people walking, we know people are going to go out and walk. You have to be mindful of that heavy equipment and of our patrol response equipment as well. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Gramaglia. Just want to reiterate, over 268 pieces of equipment are working to clear streets throughout the city of Buffalo. In the last storm that we had, that was also described as a historic storm in November, we lost a city worker. Those that are driving, violating the driving ban, and those of you that are walking, as Commissioner Gramaglia said, you have to be very careful. It is very dangerous out with all that heavy equipment, including fire trucks responding, ambulances responding. We want people to continue to stay at home and not to drive unnecessarily. The city has made special arrangements to do welfare checks for family members that have not been heard from. We have done literally hundreds of welfare checks. We have also worked with individuals that need chemotherapy, that need dialysis, that have other medical issues that need to be transported to our hospitals. Those are the only situations where there should be any driving. And those are situations where we have worked with families in special medical emergency situations to facilitate those issues. Otherwise, people should not be driving. People should stay at home. And if there are no major reasons to be out walking, I would also suggest that walkers stay at home as well, because of the danger of being out there now with a level of heavy equipment that is clearing snow, plowing, hauling in the city of Buffalo. We talked about the number of cars that have been abandoned, that are stuck throughout the city. I'm now going to turn things over to Buffalo Parking Commissioner Ray Wagner to give an update on the towing that needs to be done to continue to open up main and residential streets.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Yeah, so we have 6 companies with over 10 tow trucks working right now. We're in all parts of the city. We're working along with, in collaboration with DPW, in case we can't get pass through, we contact them to help them get us through the streets. If you're trying to find out where your car has been towed, please contact the local police districts. We are reporting those to the police districts. We are also working with the county. They're working on getting a phone number to contact to figure out if they towed your vehicle, where they're going to be, where you can reach out to find out where your vehicle's been towed to. Again, just to reiterate, please don't be driving. Don't drive on the roads. Stay off the roads for now. It's going to help us do our job faster and more efficiently. And that's really all I have for now.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Wagner. I'm now going to turn things back over to Chad Houston so that we can respond to media questions at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We're going to start with WGRZ Channel 2. Someone on from WGRZ with a question? All right, hearing none, we'll go on to WIVB Channel 4. Is anyone on from Channel 4 with a question? All right, hearing none, we'll go on to WUTV Fox News. Is anyone on from Fox News with a question? Okay, hearing none, we'll go on to WKBW Channel 7. Is anyone on from Channel 7 with a question? All right, we'll go on to Spectrum News. Is anyone on from Spectrum News with a question?
Hi, this is Christy with Spectrum News. I just want to clarify one thing. The county's sending out 28 deaths in the county, and you guys said 28 in the city as well. Is that just the city? It's for sure 28 in the city that you guys know as far as storm-related deaths. Just
yes,
confirm.
let me respond to that. Thank you for your question. Buffalo Police, working with the Erie County Medical Examiner's Office, have confirmed 28 storm-related deaths in the city of Buffalo alone. That does not include the county total because of the requirement to confirm storm-related deaths working with the medical examiner's office. All of the numbers have not caught up at this time. We know that the county number is larger. And as Police Commissioner Gramaglia said, we believe that the death toll will rise in the city of Buffalo as we continue the search efforts and as we continue to move snow mounds throughout the city. But the actual official death toll for the city of Buffalo alone, sadly, is 28 people.
I appreciate you responding. Thank you so much.
And thank you for your question.
Yes, thank you for your question. And we're going to go on to WBEN. Is anyone from WBEN on the line with a question?
Mayor, my question involves the 190. I know there's a driving ban in the city of Buffalo, but has there been talk of opening up the 190, not opening up the exits within the city of Buffalo to help keep traffic off Buffalo streets?
We have talked to the state about not allowing any traffic from the 190 if opened to travel through Buffalo streets. I will turn that particular question to Police Commissioner Gramaglia. We have been in touch with State DOT and the New York State Police. Commissioner Gramaglia, can you respond to that question as well?
Sure. It was my understanding that the 190 opened up. However, I've been in constant contact with Superintendent Nigrelli. He's actually calling me as we're on this press conference now. We've been texting back and forth about keeping cars out of the city. We cannot have vehicles exiting the 190 into the city. So at this point, I don't know if they are going to reclose the entire stretch of the city 190 from the 90 to the 290, or if they are going to get state police and guard assets on each of the exits. We're not really sure how that's shaping up yet, but we cannot have any vehicles exiting onto the city streets. They will get jammed up. They will back up cars onto the 190. That will be a dangerous situation for the 190. So we're actively working on that right now. And as soon as I get off this press conference, I will be back on the phone with the superintendent of the state police, Steve Nigrelli, to find out the latest.
Okay, thank you for your question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say thanks.
All right, thank you. So we'll move on to the Buffalo News. Is anyone on from the Buffalo News with a question?
Yeah, this is Ben Tsujimoto from the news. This is for Commissioner Gramaglia. During your update, you said there's something about another dozen deceased and removed by a strike team. Can you kind of clarify what you meant by that?
Yeah, so the strike team is kind of a term when you're dealing with these multi-agencies with all the resources we have. The New York State Police, the State Fire, we have some members of the ATF that have their own personal snowmobiles. We have, obviously the Buffalo Police Department leading the way on that. New York State Parks Police, NCON. I mean, the list goes on and on. So our Chief of Detectives, William Macy, is overseeing that part of the operation. Divided up various strike teams to hit different areas. So they are responding to 911 calls where someone may be in distress or where there's a death call. That's how we're locating these. But what I talked about, the natural deaths, obviously the police department responds to DOA calls when they're determined that they're natural, where the doctor, the patient's doctor will sign off and agree that it is a natural death. It's not storm related. Typically in our situation, those would be turned over to the family so that they can call a funeral director to come and pick up the deceased. That can happen in this situation. So our search and recovery teams are doing that work, working very closely with the medical examiner's office. We are transporting the storm related deaths to ECMC, to the morgue. There is a temporary morgue truck, if you will, that natural deaths are being taken to at a different location. We are working very, very closely and at the direction of the medical examiner's office to get these where they need to go. So, our department with the task force has been out there doing a lot of very tough work, recovering a lot of bodies.
Thank you. So to be clear, then 28 storm-related deaths and then more than a dozen natural deaths.
Correct. That is correct. We're about a dozen. And I just got an update that the 190 will remain closed, as well as the 33 and the 198. The 190 will remain closed. I just got that text message from the superintendent of the state police.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for your question. I see that CBS News New York is on. Is there anyone from CBS News New York with a question? WCBS? Okay, moving on to WHAM Channel 13. Anyone on from WHAM Channel 13 with a question? All right, hearing none. Anyone on from CNY Central with the question? All right, and at this time, I'll open up to any other questions, any other news outlets I may have missed with the question for the group.
I apologize if this was already said. I joined a little late, but I think this is a question for Nate Martin. When are we going to get to those secondary streets or those side streets downtown? There's still a lot of them that are impassable.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Mark,
Yeah, thank you. I was on mute for a second. Yeah, we did mention that a little bit. So our full resources of our DPW team, our private contractors, our partners in the county, their private contractors, state and other municipalities are focused on exactly that, the clearing and opening of the streets. So in a lot of areas where there's high traffic, some of those main arterials, we've been able to clear fairly well. There's still cars in the middle of the street. Side streets we're moving to with contractors. It's a haul and lift and remove process, fairly extensive, fairly lengthy, with the height of the snow and the drift just being significant. They're not plowing operations when you get into those side streets. So we have crews and groups in each area of the city moving street to street to street. And we'll continue to do that until we get through that first punch. That clearing element is really our first goal, and then we'll move to a full clearing after that. It's a methodical, tedious process, especially with the cars that are in the way and the drivers that are out there. But we're moving progressively through all areas of the city.
Any idea when you expect all of them to be cleared by?
I'll just say we're working as aggressively and hard as we can. We're sourcing more contractors through the state. We're working with them to bring more in to facilitate as quickly as we can. So I don't have a time frame at this point in time. We're moving as fast as we're trying to move as fast as we can.
and if I could just add to that, the state has put out a call for mutual aid. And as I mentioned earlier, we're also getting some assistance from the town of Amherst, from the city of Rochester, and from the city of Syracuse.
All right, thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question. Are there any more members of the media with questions?
Hi, this is Ruby Mecca with the New York Times. Thank you, Mayor, for making the time to speak with us today. And I just had a quick question about the volume of emergency calls that came in the first few days. We were speaking with the family of a 22-year-old who died over the weekend, and they said that she had been in her car making calls throughout the day. And earlier, the police commissioner also mentioned that there are about 1,000 emergency calls outstanding at this time. So I was just hoping to understand, one, how many calls, if you have any kind of a number of how many 911 calls and emergency calls came in throughout the weekend, and just what the initial hours of response were like.
I'm going to turn that over to the police commissioner in a moment. But I also want to stress that there was a driving ban in the city of Buffalo, in the county of Erie, effective Friday at 9:30 a.m. We are certainly not blaming individuals who are driving. Our goal was to save everyone, to respond to every emergency call, but the act of driving during a blizzard, during zero visibility and whiteout conditions, as you can surmise, made the emergency response much more difficult and much more complicated. One of the reasons that we were very early in issuing the driving ban, because we knew with the severity of weather conditions we were going to be getting, that driving was going to be extremely dangerous, that walking was going to be extremely dangerous, and that people who were out would also put emergency first responders at risk as well. Commissioner Gramaglia, can you provide numbers that you have at this time to the New York Times and the other members of the media?
Sure. So as of this morning, there were about 1,000 pending calls. Now, to kind of put some perspective in that, a lot of those calls are stranded motorist type calls mixed in with, with other various calls. There is an issue with our CAD system where we are still working on getting through those and getting those cleared off. Of course, we are, not accustomed to having calls dating back to Friday afternoon, Friday evening. So dealing with the computer system and working through those, we are getting through those. Our patrol districts, we have 5 police patrol districts, and they have been working to clear these calls over the last several days when the snow finally stopped. Our patrol officers were able to transition when the snow stopped, started to get that transition back to patrolling functions and handling calls when we were able to get more assets in to establish dedicated search and rescue and recovery teams. But to keep in mind on Friday, when that weather really hit, we saw the stranded motorist calls really started to come in and started to build up somewhere around maybe dinner time in that time frame. We coordinated with Commissioner Nate Martin and the DPW to quickly get 5 front-end payloaders to kind of lead the way for a couple of police cars in each of the districts. And they started working through those stranded motorist calls to the best that they could. We rescued about 65 people using that system. It was pretty effective. It was working well. And then the weather just became too bad. And try to keep in mind, we're driving police cars, police Explorers. The police Explorers are all-wheel drive. When we had F-350s that were getting completely shut down. We had city plow trucks that were getting stuck and couldn't drive anymore. We couldn't drive anymore. I had police officers getting out of their cars and walking people back to the station houses when they could. I had officers that were walking out of the station houses, going into neighborhoods where they knew there were people that needed help and bringing them back to the station houses. I had police officers that were stranded in cars overnight that we also had to get payloaders to get and rescue them, a couple in some desolate areas that were shutting down roadways. We were shut down. It was absolute, gridlock, snowed in, and we couldn't drive anymore. It was demoralizing for our officers who are used to helping people. The fire department is the same way. And when we can't get to you, it takes its toll. We had officers that worked from Friday morning at 6 a.m. and we couldn't get them relieved until, later on Christmas night. So we are getting through that backlog. We are working through it. Unfortunately, we also now have to deal with the looting issue and all these little things, people out on the street, people driving, people walking, people committing crimes and looting are taking away from further resources that could be used to help people.
Let me just also add a reminder to that keeping in mind the safety of our community and what we knew would be the severity of this storm, days in advance of Friday, myself, Governor Hochul, County Executive Poloncarz asked people not to drive in the city of Buffalo and other different areas after Thursday. I was very clear in saying to people in Buffalo through a variety of different mediums that Thursday would be the last day that you could drive safely to go grocery shopping, to pick up medications, do last minute Christmas shopping, to pick up candles and extra blankets and covering and flashlights and batteries for your home. That Thursday night would be the absolute last safe time to do that for the next few days. So again, any loss of life in this storm is a very, very painful thing for all of us. We were prepared in advance for the storm. We knew that this would be a life-threatening storm, and we put that out to the public multiple times in a variety of different ways.
Thank you both for your answer. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Are there any other members of the media with any questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll turn it back over to the mayor to close us out.
Again, I want to thank those in the community who have been patient and very cooperative during these historic storm conditions. And I want to thank all of the members of the media, both local and state and national, for your reporting on this story, for your helping us to get out messages. Your reporting was definitely helpful in getting messages out that I think contributed to saving many lives in this community. Thank you all very much.